So I received this neat little package from ZWO, written ZWO EAF. Nothing looks out of the ordinary for now, except that I think for the first time when it comes to a ZWO product, the box has this battery danger kind of warning sign on it. And this is because this is not the standard EAF. This is the all-new ZWO EAF Pro focuser that looks like this, meaning it looks pretty much like a normal ZWO focuser. And at the back, something is quite different because you have an on-off kind of switch there. And without having it connected to anything, you can use those in and out buttons to actually control the focuser. And it can still be controlled as usual via USB. So we have a Type-C port here. And we also have a handbox/controller port on the other side, although I haven't tried that. And what I really like about this package is that it is the exact same dimensions as the old EAF. So in theory, it should be installable in place of any existing EAF that you have. And one of the big things with this is that it has Bluetooth included in here. So BLE, Bluetooth Low Energy, can be used to control this focuser. It has an internal battery together with BLE, which means that something like a smart camera like the 2600 mzr that I have here, or an ASIAir, or even a PC via ASCOM can control this wirelessly. So the main thing with this, besides those buttons that work perfectly fine so that you can control the ZWO EAF without needing to connect it to anything, which is actually really nice. It kind of serves to replace a focuser with a clutch, because you don't really need a clutch to move the focuser whenever you need it, because you have those buttons. It's kind of nice, and it can be disconnected from anything. And then on top of that, you don't have a cable, so you can go with a rig that is almost cableless. You can see this rig. I have a single cable to the mount. This is the M5N mount. And this is the only cable on this whole rig that has a fixed position to moving position cable. So basically it's the only risk of cable snag here. Afterwards, I have a single cable from the mount to the camera at the back. So this cable here, which I could cable manage better to be sticking onto the telescope directly, because this plug and the camera, they don't, except for tiny focus movements, they don't move in relationship to one another. So we can have the cable really nicely put on the scope itself. And here, in my case, I'm also controlling the mount wirelessly, but obviously it doesn't really matter. The mount also has a USB-C output here, so you could connect the USB-C to the camera. It's an additional cable, but you can thread the two cables together. It doesn't really make any difference, but it's just for brownie points there at this level. And of course, on this telescope, the SV 503-102mm, which I've already shown on the channel, I have an existing standard ZWO EAF, and I'm going to replace it in place by this new EAF Pro and test it with the ZWO ASIAir to see whether it works wirelessly, and also make sure that we can use it both wirefully and wirelessly from a Windows PC, because I think that's also very important and something that I don't think has been clearly answered in other videos. So let's get to it. And first things, also I want to tell you what's in the box. The box is pretty standard, except it has this new warning saying before you use the ZWO EAF Pro, you need to connect it to USB-C once, and then it recognizes that it can be used. And I did that, and it worked. That was fine. And then in the box itself, we have the usual 4 couplers, so exactly the same as the current EAF, except that they're now provided in their little individual holes on a different positioning. We have screws to attach everything. We have a USB cable, and we also have the mounting bracket as well as the hex keys to install all of that. So very typical, very classic. And all of this being very typical, very classic, is a huge win in my opinion, because my main worry with this was that I wouldn't be able to use it in place. And that because you have so many telescope manufacturers that go out of their way to make sure that their telescope is going to work with the EAF. They have cutouts in their cases for when you've installed an EAF. They have mounts specifically for the EAF, like the SQA55, etc. So if ZWO had come with a slightly different dimension/format, it would have been an issue, but it's exactly the same. And let's check it out. I'm going to keep the hardware from the standard EAF on this telescope and just replace the body here, see if it works out. Let's try it out. So here I've removed the standard EF while keeping the mounting hardware on. And here we are. I was able to install it in place using the hardware, the mounting hardware from the old EF, because it's exactly the same between the two. So that's actually a big advantage. And now I can actually move. You can see the telescope focuser is actually moving simply by using those buttons. So those buttons, I wouldn't be using them probably for visual too much, because I'm sure the image as I'm moving the scope will kind of jump around. So for that, I'd probably still use I'd still probably want to use a remote rather than those buttons, but it is so convenient to have those available directly. Okay, so now we've seen that this thing is plugged in. It doesn't have any cables going into it, yet it can be used because it has this internal battery. Can we connect to it from the ZWO ASIAir? Well, here it's the smart camera, the 2600 mzr. It could be the 585 mzr. It could be the ASIair Mini. So let me go. So now I'm going to launch the ASIair app. And as I'm getting connected to the ASIair that's integrated into the smart camera, I have the usual stuff. I'm just going to enter. It's going to connect wirelessly to the mount. And the first time that it connects to the mount, as usual, it asks you to click that little Bluetooth button on it just to confirm the pairing. But even though I've already paired the ZWO EAF Pro to this mzAir, it seems to kind of like not connect automatically to it each time, even though it's on. So I actually have to go in each time under EAF, select Bluetooth, then it will find the EAF to connect to. There it is. I have to click connect. And there we go. Now it is connected. There's no issue, and we can control it directly from here. As usual, it's exactly like a standard EF focuser that you use from the ASIair, except that each time, at least for me, maybe it's a bug, maybe it's going to be fixed, I have to go into this menu each time to connect to it. It doesn't reconnect automatically. And the very first time that you connect to the EF Pro via Bluetooth, it will ask you to confirm the pairing by pressing the in or the out button on the EF, just to confirm that it is indeed this particular EF Pro that you're trying to connect to. I can already imagine the confusion during like star parties. If there are multiple people with multiple EF Pros around, I would suggest, like, you know, remembering that name that you have, like EF Pro 3057A0. That's mine. I'm going to remember that name or edit it to something that I like, just to make sure that I know which EF Pro that is detected is actually mine, in case, you know, of star parties. So now that we are connected, I can come up with the EF, the focuser interface, and you can see as I tap, immediately it moves around, and it does move the focuser of the telescope. As it is now, it's just like any other EF, just connected wirelessly. And so you can see that for my whole rig there, I have this camera that is the main camera and the guide camera and the ASIair control center at the same time. I have this focuser, which is fully wireless, and I have that single cable to provide power to the camera. And it's getting power from the mount, which is getting power from this cable to a battery, for instance. You would have battery to this to the smart camera, and that's it. 2 cables in total, and only one that goes from a position that is static to a position that is dynamic, which is the mount. So there is basically no risk of cable entanglement. And even if you have something like a dew heater would be placed at the front of the telescope. So you do need a cable that goes from the dew heater all the way for us to this camera, or to the ZWO ASIair, which probably would be around here in our case, to control that. But that's a cable that goes from 2 positions that are static relative to one another. So it's fairly easy to, and it runs just right along the scope, so you can attach it to the scope body itself, and then it just, you know, it works. There's no issue with that. Your cable will not get tangled. It's not going to have any effect of the wind. It makes for a really streamlined mount, and I'm really sorry that I cannot like make this cable look better, because I'm terrible at cable management. But it's fascinating to me that I have both the mount here and the autofocuser that are connected, you know, wirelessly to a wireless camera I mean, it's all pretty, it is honestly quite cool. I really like this. So at this stage, if you're an ASIAir user and you want to have like a setup with the fewest cables as possible, it seems to me that ZWO hates cables, like most of us do actually, and you have something like the AM5N, the AM3, you have an ASIair or a smart camera, add this, and then you have like your almost fully cableless. Now, what about, it's an internal battery, right? What about battery life? So I did a quick test. I started at a battery percentage of 85%. So when it arrived out of the box, battery percentage was 80%, and I charged it a little bit to 85%. And after that, I basically ran a loop on this EAF Pro for 1 hour, moving it across a huge amount of travel. So from step 1000 to 40,000 and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth constantly for a whole hour. And it's used, at the end, it was at 63%. So it used 22% after an hour of constant use of the EAF. Now, the EAF Pro had gotten warm during that time, so it had heated up according to its own internal temperature sensor from 30 degrees Celsius to 45 degrees Celsius. So yeah, like obviously using it continuously like that will heat it up, but it held for an hour, used only 22% battery when it was constantly moving, which is not a realistic scenario at all. In a night's time of imaging, you won't be using it as much at all. You'll be using it like, 5 minutes every hour. So that shouldn't be an issue. Of course, I will need to also test it in winter, to see how well it performs in winter. Actually, maybe I should put it in the freezer, test it in the freezer and let you know how it goes. Okay, but what about from a PC? If you're using something else than the ASIair, does this work with a USB cable? Does it work wirelessly? Hard to make it work from a PC. That's what we'll go to now. Before that, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the EAF Pro. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you hate the battery? Do you love the battery? What are your thoughts? Let us know down in the comments. While you're at it, please leave a like. It really helps the channel out. And if you want to support me even more and you're planning on buying anything from ZWO, Agena, High Point Scientific, etc., including the ZWO EAF Pro, if you do so after clicking one of the links that I have down in the description, it will help me out at no cost to you. And if you want to help sponsor the channel directly, make those videos possible directly, you can become a channel member. It's the join button next to the subscribe button, or a Patreon supporter. The link is down in the description. Some of my Patreon members have access to my videos early and without ads. And also all of my Patreons have access to an exclusive, for now, Discord channel. So if that sounds interesting to you, it will really help me out. And you guys, Patreon members, channel members, you know it, you make all of this possible. Thank you so much for your support. Okay, with that, let's go about Windows control. Let's go with the good news first. The good news was that with the PC connected to the EAF Pro via a USB cable, it worked just as usual, no problem whatsoever. Even if the ZWO EAF Pro was off, it worked like that as well. So you don't even need to turn it on for it to work over USB. I think that's a good thing. So it's basically kind of like reverse compatible with whatever method you have for connecting your current EAF to your PC. That's great. And one of the things to note as well is that the USB-C cable that is provided, USB-C to USB-A, has a 90-degree angle here, so it actually makes the connection to the EAF very stable. It's very difficult for it to get unconnected or disconnected. Okay, so USB, no problem. It can be on, it can be off, it will work. Perfect, great. What about wirelessly? So when I tried to connect wirelessly, it was extremely frustrating because it did not work. So I would go to my Nina interface, as I am now, with the latest version of Nina and the latest ASCOM drivers from ZWO. I would select ZWO Focuser, click on the settings, select BLE here for Bluetooth Low Energy. Then you can click on Scan. As it scans, it finds the EAF Pro. Excellent. And then I could also click on Connect here, and it worked. And I could even say like, oh yeah, move like 50 steps in one direction. There you go. It moved 50 steps in one direction and then in the other. Like, easy. It works no problem, except that as I closed this window and clicked on the connect button, I got this error there. And I was like, what is going on? I can obviously connect to it from the ASCOM server interface. It works. Why won't it connect? And it's not only Nina, SharpCap, same thing. Even like ASCOM Diagnostics, so the official like kind of ASCOM chooser application, same thing. In comparison, if I went to the ASI Studio and went to AC image, selected the focuser, said like BLE, and it would just scan, find it, connect to it, and there it is. It works perfectly in there without any issues, right? And that's because ASI Studio uses the native driver from, well, it's ZWO creating both software. So yeah, it uses a native driver and it works out of the box, no problem. And by the way, Nina, for wired connection, so USB connection to the EAF Pro, also can use the native driver and works perfectly fine. So what was going on there? Why was this not working? So I actually asked on the Nina Discord, and Dale Gant, one of the core contributors of Nina, awesome guy, actually managed to find the root cause. And the root cause was that the ZWO setup window there for the focuser tried to write this efconfig.ini file to a folder here, to a ZWO folder, which is actually percent local app data %\ZWO. So this folder there, which is here, but the folder did not exist, and the driver somehow never creates it. So the driver tried to create this config file, which if we open it, actually contains the Bluetooth name in here that is taken from the scan, from the Bluetooth scan, but it just couldn't write this file. And then when I tried to connect, it couldn't get the information from this file. And so now that the driver is able to find this folder and does create this file with the proper BLE name in it, and I go back to Nina, I connect, and bam, now it works wirelessly and we're able to control the focuser directly. There you go. So there's actually a little bit of lag between Nina, ASCOM, and then the focuser. So you heard it move twice. That's because of the backlash compensation that we have in Nina. I can move it in the other direction. There's like 3 seconds delay compared to like the native driver. So I don't know exactly what's going on, but when it's autofocusing, it doesn't really matter. Doesn't make much of a difference, but it is true that because of this delay between please move and actually moving of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 2.5 seconds roughly, then your autofocus runs will take a bit longer if you're doing things wirelessly from a Windows PC, whereas from the ASIair, so from that camera there, it's instantaneous. So you don't have this loss of time. I'm not sure exactly what is triggering that. It could simply be the PC Bluetooth kind of stack on Windows. And by the way, in the sequencer, you can see what I used to actually test the battery life thingy. I was basically looping all the time between moving the focuser to position 1000 and then 40,000 and 1000 and 40,000, etc., etc. So that's what I used to actually do that battery test, and it works perfectly. Also, autofocus at night worked perfectly wirelessly, no problems whatsoever. It just takes a bit longer because of that delay between like sending a move command, getting the actual move, and also the focuser being able to report that the move is ended to Nina. So there's a bit of overhead that doesn't exist if you use it wired. But you have the option to use it wired if you wish to do so. So it's easily fixed. So as a reminder, if you get issues using the EAF Pro, I've already reported the issue and the solution to ZWO, so I'm sure they'll issue a new ASCOM driver soon to fix that. But if you get yours before that is available, so you will want to go to local app data %, and if the ZWO folder here doesn't exist, you will want to go to new folder ZWO. For me, it's going to get an error because the folder name already exists. But you see and validate, and then you'll have your ZWO folder. Then once the folder is available, you can go to Nina, go to the equipment tab, focuser. I'm going to disconnect. Okay, and click the gear icon, select BLE, select scan. Then once it has scanned, it would normally choose only one EAF Pro. So you can go there, EAF Pro, and that's it. Once that's done, you close the dialog. You can also go ahead to the local app data ZWO folder and open the INI file to make sure that it has a name in there. And as you do so, if it does have a name, you'll press connect in Nina, and it's just going to work. I have seen instances though when I was doing that again and again, and for some reason the BLE name in the INI file there went blank again. I have no idea why. So if you ever have this issue with that BLE file, like there it is. You see, I got like this this error there. If I go back to the file and I reopen it, so I'm going to reopen it from scratch. There it is blank again. I don't know why. It's a bit buggy there in terms of using that. Because that file gets back to blank for whatever reason from time to time, and it can be frustrating when you're trying to connect to the ZWO EAF Pro, your remote in the field, etc. It can be frustrating. I would recommend, once the file has actually the name in there, you make sure that you save it. You can select the file, right-click, select Properties, select Read Only here, apply and OK. It's probably not great practice, but it should help make this work. Because now each time you interact with the ASCOM driver, it's not going to change the information in that file. It's not going to blank the name of the driver. It's just going to work directly. I can disconnect. I can close Nina and then reopen Nina, go back to Focuser. Then each time, by the way, when I open Nina, even with that, I need to go to the gear icon. I need to tap on Scan, wait until the Focuser has been found. There it is. Close that and click on Connect. And if you've set the file to read only, it will always work. It works, but keep in mind that you probably want to wait for an ASCOM driver update, just if you don't want to do the small operations. But it's easy to fix once you know exactly what the problem is. And again, kudos to Dale for figuring this out. Thank you so much for your help. Okay, so with that, let's go to another aspect of the Focuser, which is the price. So here we have the EFN EF Pro. So EFN is basically the basic version of the ZWO EAF these days. So EFN for the Focuser is $150 US. If you go for the EF Pro with the battery and the buttons to control everything. So you look at the back. Oops, there it is. That's the EF Pro with the in-out button on-off Type-C port and the temporary box. This is the EFN where you only have the Type-C and the temperature/handbox port there. So if you need the buttons and you need the battery and you want to go full wireless, which I think is really awesome, then yeah, you have to pay $250 US. So it is not cheap, that's for sure. And the mechanics of the Focuser itself, they're the same. They aren't changed. So if you feel like, I don't really need those buttons, I don't need to connect to it wirelessly, then the standard EFN is probably a better solution for you. But if you're using the ASIAir in particular, or the smart cameras, and you want to have as few cables as possible, then you might think about paying that $100 US premium to get the EF Pro and just use it wirelessly like that, which honestly, it's a bit magical. And at the same time, I don't think it is that gimmicky, because it does let us remove one cable, even though it is a fairly simple cable from two elements that are typically static with regards to one another, more or less. And so it does remove one risk of snag if you're not doing proper cable management. But because it's just like a cable that is indeed from a static position, from positions that are static relative to one another, it's fairly easy to cable manage in normal time. So it wouldn't be the cable that gives you the most trouble most of the time. So it could be considered by a lot of people a bit gimmicky. I'm a geek. I kind of love it. I'm a geek. I cannot help myself. I love this kind of stuff. But thinking back to it, is it truly necessary? I don't know, maybe not. But the button's there, really convenient to have the Focuser on its own, move the focus wherever I want it to without having to open up the ASIAir app or my PC and powering on the EF is just like done via internal battery. That's actually super convenient. Again, also, it's internal battery. Internal batteries, they have a lifespan. How will it be in 5 years? No idea. So, although, as we've seen, even if I set it to off, I can use it via USB cable. So even if the battery inside completely dies, as far as I can tell, you'll still be able to use the EAF Pro with a wire. So it basically would downgrade itself from an EAF Pro to an EFN. So there you go. I cannot, answer the question, is it too expensive for what it is? The price is what it is. Do you find the additional features that are provided by the EAF Pro worth the additional $100 compared to the EFN? That's for you to decide, and let me know down in the comments what your opinion on the price is. Is it gimmicky? Is it too expensive for the price, or is it something that you'd be willing to buy? Let us know. Leave a like while you're at it. You can subscribe to the channel as well if you're new. Welcome. And if you want to support me even more and you're planning on buying anything, including this EAF Pro or EFN from ZWO, Agena, Amazon, Highpoint, etc., if you do so after clicking one of the links down in the description, it will help me out at no cost to you. And you can help sponsor the channel directly by becoming a YouTube channel member. It's the join button next to the subscribe button, or a Patreon member. The link is down in the description. Again, thank you so much for all of your support. But with that, I hope this was interesting and a pretty complete overview of the ZWO EAF Pro. Seems to work great overall, but is it worth it? Let us know down below. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, whenever you can, to look up at the stars, and I'll see you next time.